Hello and welcome back to my little bookish corner of the internet. My name is Harriet. Today I'm going to be doing my spoiler-filled review of the second book in the A Song of Ice and Fire series by George R.R. Martin, and that is A Clash of Kings. I finally finished it! I got through it. All 873 pages of it. Wow, this was a journey. This video is going to contain some spoilers because I really want to talk about some of the things that happen in this book. Now, I do have a spoiler-free review of the first book in this series, which is called A Game of Thrones. And I will leave that link down below so you can check it out if you want to. All the other reviews for the books in this series I'm going to do as spoiler ones, because if you haven't read the first book then you're probably not going to know what's going on anyway, and it's the same from there on out really, so I definitely want to talk about them a lot more in depth than what I can in a spoiler-free video. So if you don't want to know what happens in this book or in the first book, because I'm going to be talking about that briefly, then click off this video, don't watch it until you've read it, because I would like you to definitely enjoy this as it's meant to be read, you know, the first time that you've heard about it, or in my case, if you've watched the TV show, it's still pretty fresh, which is good. So yeah, click off now if you don't want to know spoilers, and let's get into it. So I think the first thing we should probably do is talk about the first book, A Game of Thrones, and briefly wrap up what happened in that. As I say, I have got the spoiler-free video on my channel, but I didn't talk about the main plot points, so we can go through them. So you've got your various different houses. You've got the Starks, the Lannisters, Baratheon, Targaryen, Greyjoy. You've got so many different houses and they all live in different parts of the world that we are in. And basically in the first book, A Game of Thrones, we are introduced to all these different families and houses and how they interact with each other. And the father of the Stark family, called Eddard Stark or Ned Stark, is personally requested by the king, who is Robert Baratheon, part of the Baratheon family, and married to Cersei Lannister, part of the Lannisters. King Robert personally asks for Ned Stark to be his hand. So the hand of the king basically is, I suppose, second in command to the king. So they help them make big decisions and they go to meetings for them if the king can't make it. And King Robert does like to go out hunting quite a lot, and he does go to brothels and things like that. So most of the time Ned Stark is kind of the one that's in charge. And throughout the whole of the story there's a lot of tension building up, because various different people from various different houses want the Iron Throne, and the Iron Throne is where the king sits, and that's based in King's Landing. So the Lannisters and King Robert are based there, along with Eddard Stark, and then you've got the different families surrounding there, and the people that would like to take hold of the Iron Throne are Stannis Baratheon, who is King Robert's brother, Renly Baratheon. You've also got Daenerys Targaryen and her brother, although her brother gets killed. So it's just Daenerys now. And then there's other houses. I mean, everyone wants to be king, don't they? So they're all kind of fighting amongst themselves. And essentially what happens at the end after all of this build-up is the king dies. So King Robert gets killed by a boar because he was drunk. And then his son with Cersei, who is named Joffrey, he gets put into power as the king. But Ned Stark finds out that he is the bastard son of Cersei and her brother Jaime. So there's some incest going on there, and he doesn't know what to do, he doesn't know who to tell, because he knows that he's risking his life and he's risking the safety of his family, who are back home in Winterfell. I hope I'm explaining this right. But Ned is found out for knowing this information, and he is charged with treason, and eventually he is beheaded. And let's talk about where that leaves the other people in this story. So you've got Daenerys Targaryen, and she is classed as the mother of dragons now because she got given 3 dragon eggs as a wedding gift to her Dothraki husband, who is dead now. And after a couple of events, the eggs hatch, even though everyone thought the dragons were gone. So she has 3 dragons now. So you've got the mother of dragons, and her claim to the Iron Throne is probably the strongest because the previous king, before King Robert, was a Targaryen. So Daenerys is basically trying to find a way to take the Iron Throne. And then you've got the Stark siblings. So Arya and Sansa were in King's Landing with their father, and when he died, Arya disappeared, so she went off with one of her father's men. She is gone now, and the Lannisters have no idea where she is. So Tyrion is one of the Lannisters. He is a dwarf, so people don't really take him very seriously, and they frown upon him and think he's some kind of monster. Sansa is unfortunately still in King's Landing, and she's betrothed to Joffrey. After his father's death, Robb Stark obviously wants to fight against the Lannisters, and they have tried to kind of parley with each other, but they haven't come to an agreement that suits both of them, because of course they haven't. Basically trying to do one over on each other. So he has to go to war with his mother, Catelyn Stark. They go together. And then another of the Starks, Bran, and his little brother Rickon, they are at Winterfell, which is the home of the Starks, and they've basically been given orders to look after the castle and the people. Who else have we got? Okay, so Stannis Baratheon has also learned of the incest, and he is trying to claim the Iron Throne. Renly Baratheon is also trying to claim the throne because he thinks he'd be a better king than Stannis. And then you've got the Greyjoys and the Freys, who no one really knows who they're loyal to. And we haven't met a lot of the Freys yet, but we do know that there are a lot of them. There are a lot of kids and grandkids, great-grandkids, and I believe there is a lot of ancestry going on there. Whereas the Greyjoys, there is a young man called Theon Greyjoy, and he was brought up with the Starks, but he is thinking of rebelling now. And then we have Jon Snow, who is the bastard son of Ned Stark, and he was sent to the Wall, which is basically a place where men go to look after the North, protect the Wall against things called the Wildlings, and they're like a free people. It's so hard to describe all this, but Jon Snow goes there and he takes the Black, which just means that he becomes a member of the Night's Watch, so he's not allowed to take a wife. He can't really visit home. He renounces all of his titles, not that he really had any because he's a bastard. So he is there on the Wall, and winter is coming. And basically what that means is that the others, which are kind of like a mystical, almost zombie-like force that no one really believes in, Jon has seen them in person, so he knows they exist. That's kind of what we are left with at the end of Game of Thrones, which is the first book. And then we get onto this one. Throughout Westeros, the cold winds are rising. From the ancient citadel of Dragonstone to the forbidding lands of Winterfell, chaos reigns as pretenders to the Iron Throne of the Seven Kingdoms stake their claims through tempest, turmoil and war. As a prophecy of doom cuts across the sky, a comet the colour of blood and flame, 5 factions struggle for control of a divided land. Brother plots against brother, and the dead rise to walk in the night. Against a backdrop of incest and fratricide, alchemy and murder, the price of glory is measured in blood. So that's the synopsis of this book. Doesn't really tell you an awful lot. I'm not going to go through the entirety of this plot. I'll probably do that in the next video for the next book at the start, so like I've done with this one. But I do want to talk about some of the things that happen. So as with the first one, we are following various different characters, and each chapter is a different character. There are lots of characters that I really enjoy reading about. I feel like in this book, Tyrion really comes into his own. He's actually one of the most cunning and intelligent characters in this series, and he's really fun to read. He has a lot of heart, but he is also extremely cunning. And while he does try to be loyal to his family, he can manipulate and backstab people, and he's just a really interesting character. You never really know what way he's going to turn, but he is always the same person. And that is similar with his sister Cersei. So she is the queen, or in this one she's the queen mother, because obviously her husband died. And again, she is just really manipulative, but also very clever, and she always seems to be kind of one step ahead of everyone else, apart from Tyrion. And it was really interesting to see their dynamic throughout this book, because it changes compared to the first book. They are around each other a lot more, and they're both kind of fighting against each other, and I just found it really interesting. So I loved reading those. I of course loved reading Jon and Daenerys. They are also some really interesting characters, and probably some of the most popular ones. Daenerys is just interesting because you can feel her fire and her fight, but she can't really do anything yet. So it's cool to see how she's trying to plan out what she's going to do next and where that takes her. And she's going to all these different places and seeing all these different things, which I'll talk about in a minute. And I just found that really cool. And then Jon is beyond the Wall now. They're trying to find the Free People, so they're trying to find Mance Rayder, because they've heard that the Wildlings are going to march against the Wall. So he is beyond the Wall, and that means that his survival skills are in full force, and he meets a lot of really interesting characters. This is the book where he gets to meet Ygritte for the first time. She is one of the Wildlings, and oh gosh, I cannot wait to read what happens between them. If you've seen the series, maybe you liked their dynamic together. I'm hoping it will be even better in the books. That only really happened at the end of this book, towards the end of it. But as soon as I read the bit where it happens, I was just so ready for more. So I'm excited to see that continue in the series and see John form new friendships and alliances and things like that. Characters I didn't really enjoy would honestly be Bran, although towards the end of the book I did start to appreciate his story arc a bit more. I did say this in my previous review as well of the first book, that I just find him a little bit annoying, but he's coming more into his own power at the moment, and I think that's making his story arc a bit more interesting. And obviously he's quite young, so the more he grows up, the less irritating I'll probably find him. Same as Sansa. Didn't love her in the first book, but I found her really interesting in this one. Although she is very weepy, which I don't really appreciate. But she's a young girl and she's gone through so much stuff. I completely understand why she's like that. In terms of characters, I just think that George R.R. Martin does a fantastic job of writing them, and they're really well thought out, and they're also well realised as well. So plot-wise, there's a lot of action in this. There is a big battle at the end. There's a lot of violence, mutilation, brutality, and Arya is actually one of the characters that gets put through that a lot, but so is Tyrion. And it was really gripping. I always say this, I'm not really a big fan of action, but it is written so well in this that it just left me wanting more. And even though it was a really big book, it didn't feel sluggish to get through, and everything that is in here feels like it's necessary to the plot and necessary to the story. So that's good. While it is a huge book, and it did take me quite a while to read, I think it was just under a month on and off, but every page was just so exciting and new things were happening all the time. And because the characters are so well realised, it really feels like you're in the story with them. But yeah, action, war, all of that was great. Really well written, and you're rooting for certain characters as well, which makes it even more like heart in mouth. It's really intense. Now, there are a couple of actual plot points that I want to talk about now and things in this book. And the first one I want to talk about is the prologue. So in the prologue, we are kind of introduced to Stannis Baratheon a little bit more, and his daughter, and the person that looks after his daughter is called Patchface. Now, Patchface is one of the weirdest characters I've ever read about, and the prologue to me didn't feel like it was part of this book. So that's the only negative I really have to say about this, is the prologue felt really strange to me. Now, I have been told before that it was strange, so maybe that altered my opinion a little bit. I'm not sure why I found it so unusual, but it felt out of place. Yeah, it took me a really long time to read the prologue actually, it was quite a long one. But as soon as the actual book started, it was fine. So I just found that very strange. And Patchface isn't really part of the story from then on. We see him a couple times. But again, it still feels different to the rest of the book. So, thought I'd mention that. Another thing I want to mention is that Daenerys isn't really featured in this novel a lot, but there was one chapter that I really enjoyed, that was her chapter. And essentially what happens is she's seeking advice on what to do and how to get to King's Landing, because she doesn't really have an army and ships. So she seeks the counsel of the Undying Ones in the House of the Undying Ones, or House of Dust. And that place houses the leaders of the Warlocks of Qarth, and she's basically just seeking advice from them on what to do. This is really the first big slice of magic that I've felt throughout the series, and I love fantasy, I love magic, so obviously I was very pleased about this. When she goes in, she must drink Shade of the Evening, and I believe this is to enable her to see the Undying Ones, see the forces that are within this place. And there are certain rules she must follow, so she must take the first door on her right every time and only go upstairs, not downstairs. But this place plays tricks on you, so you see different things when you're walking through, and some of the doors to your left that you're not supposed to go through, you'll see things happening and they'll try and lure you in. And basically they're doing that because they want to take your life's essence. So this is probably the most fun I've had reading a chapter from this series so far. I just found it really entertaining, and it was pretty gross and gory, but just super fun to read. I loved it. The only thing I would say is that I wish there was a bit more magic within the series and that it was explained more. I don't know if I'm going to get the answers that I'm looking for in the following books. Of course, I hope I do, but I'm just not sure yet. So there is currently a lot of ambiguity regarding magic and the lore behind it and the history. This also goes for the Red Woman, who is a Red Priestess for the Lord of Light. And the Lord of Light is basically what Stannis believes will protect him and help him win the war now. Because he's met this Red Woman, this Red Priestess. And she's kind of infiltrated his mind a little bit and made him believe in what she believes in. But we don't know a lot about this belief system and who the Lord of Light is and what it all means and whether it's real or not. I find that within these books, a lot of the characters don't believe in these things, but then other events happen basically that make them believe them. And it's just all very ambiguous. It's really hard to describe. But I'm just hoping that as the series goes on, it will be explained a little bit more and we'll get the answers, but I'm just not sure. So to wrap up, this is one heck of a book. It is nerve-wracking, it is tense, it's fantastical, interesting, there's lots of political intrigue, characters are great. I just really enjoyed it. I definitely reread it. And honestly, I would say that this is a 5-star read for me, same as the first book. I am just completely in love with it. I cannot wait to continue with the series. I think I've got 5 books left now because 2 of them are split into 2 books. So there is 7 in total. But yeah, I loved it. Let me know down below if you've also read this and what you thought of it. Let me know if you finished the series too and what your overall thoughts are. I'd be really interested in that. But please don't spoil anything for me. Yeah, if you like fantasy, definitely think about checking out this series. Okay, that is it from me today. Thank you so much for watching and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. I'll see you in my next video. Bye!